Hi guys, welcome back to Z's Corner. This is Dow. So a big shout out to Apex Set for hooking me up with a brand new fancy intro video. I really enjoy it. I think it really looks amazing. So I hope you guys enjoyed it as well. In this video, I'm kind of building on top of what I had released just last time, which was really the Augur versus the Enterprise. I'm going to do a whole series of videos on the Augur and how it performs in PvP. So in this video, we'll look specifically at the Augur going against the combat triangle, trying to beat a Kelvin. And we'll also look at the Augur versus a D4. And finally, we'll look at an Augur versus a Katinga. And one of the things that I've found so far is that the Augur actually performs very, very well in PvP. And this is a little bit contrary to what everybody was thinking before. At least on my server, a lot of people were making fun of the Augur for having such a poor performance record in PvP and always losing to enterprises, etc., etc. But really, I think the key here is to remember that with the Augur, you can really forget about burning. Don't think about using burning and trying to trigger the ship ability on that ship. And when you don't do that, when you don't try and force burning on it, it actually performs really, really well. And the key reason behind that is because the Obliterator fires without burning, and it fires in round 2. It has a 3-round recharge. So and if you're trying to go with burning on it, you're just sacrificing too much damage from your other weapons that you could potentially be doing with the ship for a weapon that really can only fire 1 or 2 times per PvP fight. Because remember, most PvP fights are over in 8 rounds or less. And real quick, before we jump into the battle logs, I want to say thank you to all the people who helped with the filming of this video. So we've got Reaper up first, and then it's Badger, and finally but not least, it's Jor. His name is a bit longer than that, but I don't really know how to pronounce his full name, so I'm just going to call him Jor. In any case, on the screen right now, you'll see the battle log that I have with Reaper. And Reaper's got a T5 Kelvin. It has 1 weapon upgrade on it, and everything else is not upgraded for that tier. So you can see, 10.5 million in power. My Augur is at 6.7 million in power. It has a significant power advantage. It has also got the advantage of the combat triangle, which, as a reminder, we talked about in my very, 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 very first video a while back. So, technically this ship by, all means should be defeating the Augur pretty handily. And you can see that, at least in this fight, on this screen right now, that it did not. It's got a pretty generic PvP crew with TOS Kirk Captain. Again, as a reminder, TOS Kirk Captain with the synergy from TOS O'Hara. When he's Captain, he has 100% bonus to energy weapon damage based off the defense, based off of officer defense, and it's cumulative. TOS O'Hara, we've talked about quite a few times. Again, she's kind of lowering the amount of damage that's done to the opponent's shield and redirecting that damage to the opponent's shield. And HG Worf, again, the critical hits. His HG Worf is her HG Worf is a tier 2 one, so 50% critical hit chance. Now on my ship, I've got Con Captain, and for this mainly because I wanted to deal hull breach. So I've got Krell on the side, and when Krell's on the side, I got a 10% synergy, so I have 90% chance to cause hull breach right in the beginning, and hull breach leads to increased damage from critical hits as well. Krell's on the side. Krell here has 500% of the crew's defense bonus to damage against Federation ships, so he provides me with a very, very nice weapon damage bonus. And then I've got HG Worf on here for the critical hits. So if we take a look at the battle log real quick, you see my officers are proccing. Her officers actually did not proc. So you see, right off the bat, I'm dealing a significant amount of damage, 1.3, 1.4. Let's just call it around 1.4 million in crits with my energy weapons only. The Kelvin only crits me for about 670,000 in damage, so I'm actually out damaging a G4 uncommon ship here. In round 2, you see the Kelvin's officers are proccing, and you see, my Obliterator hitting for 4.4 million damage. again, overall, I'm actually out damaging the Kelvin. It fires more in round 2, but still, I guess if you add all of his damage together, it actually out damages me in round 2. But in round 3, I make up for it, and then the Kelvin's destroyed in round 3. Before it actually has a chance to even get a shot off, it's destroyed. So you can see, 3 rounds, really quick. Obliterator only fired once in round 2, and I won. So here I actually asked Reaper to recruit to kind of go specifically anti-Auger, and by that I mean she's got Yuki Captain. Again, Yuki Captain, not only does she do the shield health reduction per turn, but she also has a 500% bonus damage against the Romulans. So, she's got Yuki, Charvonic, and HG Worf on this. And surprisingly, I think actually, she did worse in this case than she did last time when she had TOS Kirk as captain. If we look at the battle log real quick, it only went 2 rounds. So, I was doing even more damage this time. Over 2 million damage on the energy weapons alone, and then 5.8 million damage. I mean, this type of weapon damage you actually don't really see that often, even with the G4 ships. This is borderline, well, yeah, borderline G5 territory in terms of energy weapon damage right off the bat, and 5.8 million crit. That's very impressive as well. But basically, almost all crits, and the ship is the Kelvin destroyed in round 2. So because I had a lot of procs in that first fight, I asked Reaper to kind of redo it. I had her change, Yuki to not be captain anymore, and to have Worf captain, because when Worf is captain, he gives you an increase of armor piercing, which is anti-battleship of 30%. Of the crew's attack whenever he scores critical hits, and he's going to score a lot of critical hits on the ships. So if we take a look at this, it did marginally better than last time. I still have shield health, but my hull health is actually down a bit. Let's look at the battle log real quick. So you see all of my officers proccing against Reaper's ship here. Again, I'm doing those huge critical hit damages. I don't crit on all of them like last time, so maybe that's why. But again, this was an even bigger obliterator critical hit at 6.7 million damage. That's amazing. That's amazing to me, actually. Again, going 2 million, 2 million, 2 million, and boom, the Kelvin destroyed. So, I don't know, based on all of this, the last 2 fights, the Kelvin was crewed specifically anti-Auger, and she lost. So, in this scenario, I would say that the Auger pretty handily dominated the Kelvin. It's a max ship, it's a max J3 Epic, but even so, I would not have expected it to be able to go against the combat triangle and still win so handily. Alright, so this is going to be a series of fights of my Auger against a D4. The D4 is maxed, so it's pretty much on even terms. And you can actually see that, we'll go over in a bit, but, overall, I think I only lost once, and it was kind of a fluke of the RNG system. I won every other scenario against the D4. So this was kind of Badger's default crew. I asked him for a default crew. So he's got Gorkin Captain. Gorkin Captain, again, as a reminder, is an increase to critical hit chance. He's got Khan for the critical hit chance, plus 5% critical hit every time the ship gets hit. And he's got Charvonic on here as well. So, I pretty handily destroyed the D4 in this round. Oh, also, quick note about Gorkin. It's not just the critical hit chance; it's the 90% chance to cause hull breach when you hit critically. That's one of the main things, because again, D4 shipability, and we'll go over it in the future in a D4 video. But the D4 shipability is basically right here. As long as the opponent has a hull breach, D4 increases its weapon damage by 25% every round cumulative. So this is a pretty good shipability to have as well. Whoops. Let's go back into the battle log. All right, so the battle log here, you see Gorkin proccing. You see my guys are proccing. He deals okay damage, you know, not that great. I guess 980,000 critical hit. My damage is a lot less than what I was showing with against the Kelvin, and that's because I don't really have a good Klingon ship damage officer, and we'll kind of go over that in a bit because I do have one officer, it's Tomalak, but he's not maxed yet. That's why I haven't used him in this case, or well, I'll use him later, but I haven't used him in here right now. So if we look at this, you know, I'm only doing about 400,000 critical hit damage. My Obliterator still decent, 3.4 million critical hit damage, and we go about 4 rounds here, so definitely. You see by the end, the D4 is actually doing more damage because of its ship ability. It's gotten to be about 1.16 million damage in terms of critical hits. So here the D4 actually did a lot better. Basically, only changed from the first battle report that we saw was that we removed Khan, which is a proc per hit, for Worf, which gives a flat-out bonus over 8 rounds. And his Worf is tier 2 as well, so 50%. So 3 rounds. I guess I should win less rounds, but I think he just did more critical hit damage. So, you know, about 1 million crit right off the bat because of the... I don't think Gork can proc. Yeah, Gork can proc, so he'll do more damage in round 2. I'm doing, again, not as much as before, 600-something thousand damage. I got a 4.8 million damage hit on the Obliterator, and it's actually crazy to me how big the damage difference swings on the Auger, on the Obliterator. So, you know, that's kind of crazy to me. Notice his critical hit damage went way up. 1 because of ship ability, but 2 because Gorkin has proc. So he's at 1.5 million damage. I'm still doing my 600,000. And then, you know, I lose shields with his 2 hits in round 3. Yet, you know, with my 4 hits here, you know, still 400-something thousand damage, he gets destroyed. And real quick note, before I forget, I did make one change. I don't have Krell on, I have Mara on. I forgot to note that in the first battle log. But basically, I'm using Mara because it's kind of like an anti-interceptor crew for the Klingons. So, and Mara has synergy as well with Khan right here, okay? So Khan's still at 90% to proc hull breach. Yet Mara here, as long as you have hull breach, you know, you have a minus 40% dodge to the opponent's ship every time it has a hull breach. So you can see that, you know, I don't proc it right away in round 1, even though my con procs. You have to wait until round 2 until Mara kicks in. All right, so Mara kicks in round 2, and that kind of lowers his mitigation and allows me to deal more damage directly to his hull. So on this video, in this battle log, I had him crew basically for anti-Auger with Yuki, Captain, Charvonic, and Worf, and you know it did better, but it's still lost. And you know, if we take a look here, you know, 4 rounds, a bit longer. You see right off the bat, he's doing a lot more damage to me. He's got 1.7 million critical hit damage. I'm still in that 600,000 range, man. 4.6 million, you know, that's not bad. You know, he's doing 1.8 by round 2. That's significant. 1.8 again, and then, you know, I just outlast him. I think one of the biggest things is that the D4 doesn't have much hull health. Let's check that real quick. Yeah, you can see that his hull health right here is only 3 million. Hull health and shield health is 3 million. I've got, you know, 3 million, same shield as him, but a bit more hull health, 4 million hull health. And that's really one of the primary difference makers, and it's one of the reasons why I think the Auger is actually doing so well in PvP. And in comparison to the Enterprise, the other G3 app, so in comparison to the Enterprise and the D4, it's got a bit more hull health in those ships. So I think this was another one that Drunk kind of wanted to try. He had Gorkin on to kind of help with Worf and Charvonic. So he took Yuki off. I didn't really recommend that, and you can see that he actually did worse. So I had about 2 million versus 1 million last time when he had Yuki on. And if we, well, I mean, he wanted the extra critical hit damage that Gorkin could help with the hull breach proc. And he wanted Worf Captain because Worf Captain gives the armor piercing per round, or whenever the ship hits a critical hit. But he sacrificed the damage modifier from Yuki for that. And if you look at the battle log, which we're going to do right now, you can see that he's doing significantly less damage, 1 million, whereas before he was at 1.8 million right off the bat in critical hits. I'm still, there in that range, 600,000 range, 4.8 million obliterator critical hit. He's at 1.8, 1.7 by round 3, 1.7 by round 3. And then round 4, we went 5 rounds this time. My obliterator destroyed him in round 5. Okay, so that's kind of what this one was. I really don't recommend him removing Yuki from the equation. So we'll take a look at this real quick. This was the one time I actually lost, and I think it was just kind of a random number generator fluke, because we tried this setup before and I had won. So let's take a look at the details here. Yeah, I mean 1.7 million-ish critical hits. I get critical hits. 4.5. Yeah, I think towards the end he was just, I think he just critical hit every single time, almost every single time. And I had 1, 2, 3 or 4 different misses on my critical hits, especially here. Yeah, 2 of those I missed, and he had both 1.8, 1.8. Yeah, I missed quite a few of my critical hits in this fight. And that's why I got defeated. But it's still showing that it's a viable crew for the D4 to kind of go against the Auger on, with Yuki as captain. And then the last fight that I had with Drunk was the same crew, and I swapped. I tried Tomalak here. I ended up not really using Tomalak a whole lot. I think he's about on par with how Mara performs. The main issue is that Tomalak, for me right now, is only tier 3. And with the event store going on, actually, I can actually use tokens to increase his level. So I think I'm going to try and push him as far as I can with my event store tokens, just because he is actually, I think, the only officer that gives a +% damage increase versus Klingon ships, which is going to make a huge difference as we look at some of the G4 ships moving forward. As more people get out Coronars and things like that. So Tomalak is a very good officer to have, because whereas the others, you have Krell and Mirik to get plus damage versus Federation ships, and you have Yuki and Yanak to give plus damage versus Romulan ships. For the Klingons, we only have Tomalak so far, so it's a good use of your event store tokens, I would say, to kind of push them as far as you can. Oh, I almost forgot to go over the battle log here. So anyway, let's take a look at the battle log real quick. See all of my guys proccing. He's still doing good. I mean, 1.7, 1.85. You can see right away that Tomalak's giving me a boost. Instead of doing 600,000 critical hit damage, I'm doing over 850,000, almost 900,000 critical hit damage. It's kind of saddening to me that my obliterator hit kind of got a low roll this time, and I only did 4.6 million damage. I was hoping for like 5 or 6 million damage. But regardless, you can see my other energy weapon damage is actually pretty much significantly higher. So 2 rounds and the D4 went kaput, despite having all critical hit damages, all critical hits against my ship. So both the D4 and the Kelvin, the Auger has done really well, and it was all against the combat triangle. And then in the next series, you'll see where the Auger doesn't do so well. All right, so this is the Auger versus Jor's Katinga. This is a T5 Katinga, and I lost every single battle. I could not figure out a good way to crew the Auger to kill the Katinga, and my gut check is telling me it's supposed to be because I don't have a good officer like Krell or Yuki that gives the +% damage modifier. I just can't do enough damage to these to his Katinga. I mean, he's got a lot of hull health on this ship as well. He's got 7 million hull health, whereas the Kelvin I was fighting was only about 6 million. I can't get through his shields, and I can't get through his hull. It outclasses me by far. And even though Jor in this case has Marcus on there, which is really not, kind of not the right crew to go against an Auger, battleship rather. He still beats me with about half health, and we can take a look real quick. These are longer rounds, 5 rounds, but he's not doing that much damage. He's doing about 700,000 damage. I'm doing about 500,000 damage. It's close. It's really close. The problem is the difference in shield and hull health. You know what I mean? And unfortunately here I didn't proc at all my critical hit on the obliterator to kind of close that gap. But so here you can see the big guns of the Katinga hitting for 1.7, 1.8, 1.8, 1.8. Yeah, so I mean this is not even close for me. I die pretty quick. So and even around 5, my obliterator didn't get a critical hit. I mean, what's up with that? So even though with Charvonic procking, you can see it does almost nothing for my obliterator damage. I have burning on, yet I only did 1.3 million damage. Even in round 2, when I don't think I have burning. No, I don't have burning in round 2. I did 1.5 million damage. So it's one of those things of RNG gods. I mean, I had a high roll here, I had a lower roll there, and that's it. So, and in all of these cases, we'll go over these real quick. This is where I asked George to kind of switch to the classic anti-battleship, anti-Romulan battleship type crew with Yuki, Captain, Charbonic, and Worf. I started to play around with all sorts of things. I said, I don't care about Charbonic being captain because she doesn't really proc well for me to fire to get the burning effect in round 2 before the obliterator fires. So I use Worf as captain just for the +% increase since I'm fighting a battleship, the armor piercing increase. I've got Tomalak on here. So, I mean, if we take a look at this, you'll see not that much extra damage, 470,000 even with Tomalak here. So 500 something thousand critical hits. I didn't proc, my obliterator didn't proc critical on this case either. It's 1.5. So I went down pretty quick. Round 3 I died. It's right after his big guns fired, 1.8, yeah. So I died pretty quick on this. I tried a few different setups. It's going to be, all pretty much the same story. So, I tried to see if I could get, I actually put, I think this is Krell. Yeah, I put Krell captain so I could proc, proc hull breach so I can do more damage. Yet, do I do more damage? I do 600,000 versus 570,000, so it's a little bit more damage, but it's really not enough to offset. And I got a good obliterator hit here with 3.3 million damage. So I can't beat his big guns right here that fired in round 2. That's kind of scary. The 1.8 million damage 4 times. So I die pretty quick on this. And where was I here? I tried Yuki. I tried to see if I could eat some of his shields. This did even worse. I only lasted 1 round. That's probably why. I did pitiful damage. Whereas before I was hitting for 550 to 600. I'm doing like 400 something thousand damage. So, and again, the obliterator didn't critical hit. Wonderful. So I die real quick here. Not much more to say on that. Final one, I try to throw on Skinny Mud here because his officer ability isn't bad. It's plus 300% of damage when the shields are depleted. And I was thinking, my biggest issue is that I'm not having enough damage, so I threw Mud on. But the key point here is, is plus damage when shields are depleted. So, we can look at that real quick. 400 something thousand damage without needing to have modifiers there. Second round, I got a nice crit from my obliterator, only 3.3. Here, my shields are depleted, alright? So my shields get depleted right here. Yet, unfortunately, I blow up before I can actually fire again. So, I just died too fast, basically, for Mud to be useful. And that's because you can see in these shots right here, I got 1.5. Yeah, I had 3 million whole health damage in these three in these three hits. 3.5 million whole health damage in these three hits. And you know, if you recall, I only have like 4 million whole total. So once my shields are gone, the Auger is gonna die pretty quick, especially to these big guns from the Katinga. So, you know, that I was very unsuccessful. I'd say very much so unsuccessful against even a moderately tiered G4 uncommon here, the Katinga. So thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed the fights that I showed tonight. Basically, you know, in summary, I'd say the Auger actually performs really well in PvP, contrary to popular belief. It can go against the triangle and kill D4s and Kelvins apparently, yet it cannot kill a G4 UNC battleship. So, you know, as weird as that might sound, you know, I think a big part of the issue is my officers. Actually, just is that my Tomahawk is not max. But even with Tomahawk max, I'm not exactly sure if I can actually beat that Katinga because of the firing patterns, especially since it's got 4 big guns that fire in round 2, which is actually fairly early, you know what I mean? So that's one of the biggest issues against the Katinga. So I don't think the Augur can actually ever really defeat the Katinga. You might get close if you have a max Tomahawk, but you won't really defeat the Katinga. Yet on the other hand, you can easily defeat a Kelvin, and you can easily defeat a D4. And as we showed in the last video, you can also defeat the Enterprise. So overall, I give the Auger a, you know, an above average rating in terms of PvP. Actually, a very good rating for PvP. So anyway, if you're not a subscriber, please hit the subscribe button. If you have any other questions or any comments you want to leave, you know, feel free to leave that comment below, and I'll try and get back to you as soon as possible. So again, thanks for tuning in, and I hope you all have a good day or a good night. Thank you.